Welcome, Illumineers! It is time to take a rest from your quest and check on in to the Lore Keeper's Inn. I'm your host, your ghost host, Katie. Here at the inn, we have 999 Happy Haunted Glimmers, but there's room for 1,000. Any volunteers? That's right, goblin and ghoulies. It is a very special Halloween episode of the show, so to celebrate, I'm covering the most sinister glimmers in the Great Illuminary. It's the Villains of Disney Lorcana. And with me, I have a wickedly perfect group of guests. Despite their names, they're actually a very helpful group of Illumineers who have a channel dedicated to helping Disney fans come over to the dark side of TCGs and learn everything they need to know about the game of Disney Lorcana. They are the lawful evil trio of Brad, Andy, and Kirsten, and technically Vince, but we can talk about that later. But Vince is a member. He's just not here right now. So welcome.
Hey, thanks for having us. How are you?
Well, thank you so much. Like I said, Vince is the mysterious third member. He is with us in spirit. He is one of the happy haunts. It's very scary things happen. Anything can happen on Halloween, in the words of Tim Curry.
Absolutely.
But thank you for coming. Before we dive into the twisted world of Disney villains, I want to know a little bit about your show. You guys seem very nice. So why is it called the Rules of Villainy?
You want to take it, Andy?
Yeah, well, we called the Rules of Villainy mainly because we love the cool little flavor text that is on the cards that Lorcana came out with. So it was really just a fun name, and then we kind of had to lean into the villain aspect of it. But we're all first time TCG players. We have never done like the heavily competitive stuff before. We all really love Disney. We loved getting into this. We all met through the card game, and we started the podcast to just try and help other new first time card game players learn how to be a little more competitive, how to win some of these set championships and help collect all those cards we all want so much.
I love that. First rule of villainy is friendship.
Exactly.
Ursula might say otherwise, but yeah.
I think all of them would say otherwise, honestly.
It's true. Yeah. So did you whose idea was it? Like this is getting to tea. And that was like, we need to
I feel like we all, it was probably between you and Vince, right? Like Vince always had the idea to do it, and then you had the equipment and the knowledge and the passion for the game already. And
I think we all really wanted to do like a podcast or some sort of content creation. And it was kind of one of those moments, you're all sitting around the campfire and you're just like, we should start a podcast. Exactly. And it just sort of bloomed from there.
Yeah, it's the millennial rite of passage. It's something that happens in all of our lives that we decide it's time to do that. But no, and it's cool. I like that you guys come from the conversion kind of thing of saying like, you like Disney, you just get in here. You'll like this, because I think it's like an untapped market where, in the parks, you might walk past Lorcana, but you're not really going to know. And I'm even told like Citizen Lorcana, it's so cool that having Disney Lorcana gives you a chance to have like a Disney moment on a weeknight, not in Disney World.
I completely agree, because that's the only reason why I'm here and playing Lorcana, honestly, is because I'm a Disney fan. And Andy is my husband, and he was like, this is a good way to get her to do something that I would also like, once he realized that it was something coming out. And I was like, okay, that sounds like fun. It's Disney. But if he had picked any other TCG, I'd been like, are you crazy? No, that is not my thing.
It's hard. Yeah, I did try to get into Pokemon, but I'm like, I only want the cute ones, and they're not all cute, and that's a problem. So yeah. Well, I'm happy to hear that. The first rule of villainy was teamwork and stuff. I didn't expect that. So, but today we are talking about actual villains. A fun fact. I like to have a fun fact. I learned today I cannot spell the word villain. Certainly not villainy. Every time I typed it in this document, it is incorrect. But we do have 43 villains to discuss today. And you might say, well, Katie, where'd you come up with 43? These 43 are the ones currently questing in Lorcana. So as of set 5, which is Shimmering Skies, these are ones with a classification of villain. So that's important to note. This is not up to me. So not all characters that are villainous are on the list. For example, Gantu, not a villain. And any kind of sidekicks, not villains. They are simply workers.
Allies.
So does that surprise you to know that like Flotsam, Jetsam, Wafu, they're just Gantu surprised me, because I'm like, he seems objectively upsetting.
Some of them are
Gantu is
just doing
one
their
that,
job, right?
yeah, we have to apologize to Gantu every week on our podcast because one of our bits is villain of the week, and he just hasn't made the cut yet. And it seems like tonight we have to apologize again because he just
He can't ever make the cut.
can't make
actually.
the cut. But in our hearts, he's number one.
He's simply not eligible to be villain of the week, it turns out.
I'm not really surprised that the sidekicks aren't villains, honestly, just because they're not the masterminds. They're just the doers. They're the bidders of the true villains. So I'm not surprised that they're more so like sidekicks, allies, even though they're allies to the villains. I'm not really surprised by that. I wouldn't say LeFou's a villain. He would be a very terrible villain. He's kind of
That's true. He's certainly ill intent, but he's not a mastermind. So I think maybe
Exactly.
that's the other category.
Is
Is now
Gaston a mastermind?
they're
though?
just for followers. They're followers.
Gaston's an ideas man. They're not good ideas, but he certainly has them.
He's
he
an
is
intellectual powerhouse
Stuck in his
Lorcana.
ways.
Yeah.
So yeah. So we're gonna go into each villain. To dive in, I want to kind of share my agreed upon approach on this. That we're ranking the villains as a combination of their strength as a Disney animated villain and also their current presence in the game. So it's going to be a little bit complicated because you got some villains that are like, I've never heard of you and you have one card. You have some villains that are great villains and have some pretty not great cards. You have some villains that they just have so many cards where you're like, I guess you're doing great. So it's complicated. There's no science to it. The good news is this list, I'll share the link and you can make your own tier list. And then together we can make a science out of it and have a mean villain list. So are there any that you guys are, well, you don't have to tell me. At the end, we can each say, because there's going to be people, we're going to be like, there's some villains on the list. At the end, we will have each person. Now, you didn't know about this, Kirsten, so sorry. But a villain that is not yet in the game that you're like, if they were, I would like this villain, and they would be on this ranking. So you have 43 to think about in the meantime. So we will dive in. I'm going to share my screen. Now, for audio-only listeners, I'm going to do my best. You're not miss. We'll talk through it. You're not going to miss a lot visually, so that's the good news. But we are using, it's a classic tier list. Nothing too surprising here. We have S, which is just so good it can't even be. It's above A. It's above a passing grade. It's better than best. And then A, B, C, D, and which is like a total failure. So sometimes people have E. I don't know what that means. So there's no E on the list. So not a problem here. So we're going to go in alphabetical order and start with, this isn't alphabetical, so I'm sorry. Now I just realized it's not, but we are starting with Chernabog from Fantasia. Not sure he is probably the devil, but other than that, I'm not so sure
I'm not
about his villainness in the movies. Do you guys have any strong thoughts about him as a villain?
Well, I mean,
He
Fantasia.
looks really scary.
Yeah, Fantasia, there's no real words to it, right? It's mostly a visual sort of experience. So
And audio, yeah.
And audio,
true.
certainly.
Yeah.
The music in Fantasia is amazing. I don't know. I think Chernabog's a classic. I think he deserves some respect as a sort of a big bad here, and he's certainly scary. As a child, I was scared of Chernabog for sure.
That's a good point. If we're talking about like true, like I don't like to think about it, then he is a scary villain. His card, I mean, we've seen it in DLCs, so I mean, it has the ability to do some damage. We see it in Steel Song, we see it in Lemon Lime. So I would say his card it's good. It's not the best
decent.
card.
The fact that he recycles all of your discarded characters back into your hand, he's really cheap if you have a lot in there. I think he's pretty good. I don't think anybody runs more than one of in those decks, but I think that he's one of the better ones.
Yeah, but knowing that there's only one card, I feel like I'm leaning towards C.
I was thinking C too.
See?
I would
He
agree
just
with
feels
that.
like he's
Pretty
doing
mid.
good. He's
Does
a
he
nice
get
average villain.
Any bonus points for creating the TikTok now when people get a pedicure? They show that motion of Chernabog showing his fingernails.
This Chernabog
Is there any
That is
bonus
pretty
points for
cool.
that?
He does. So he's a high C.
I've never seen that. How many like nailograms are you watching a day?
Yeah, right. Now I want to know your TikTok feed. The algorithm,
never know.
you built it. So
That's
But
not
I
in
will
my
share it later
algorithm.
if I can find it.
So, and while we're on Fantasia, now I'm like rude. I said it was alphabetical. I changed my mind. I'm a villain. I can do what I want. So we're doing the Firebird, which is a villain. Now it lights things on fire. So that is pretty upsetting to things that don't want to be on fire. But I would say not the strongest villain. I would not get a t-shirt with the Firebird unless it was like a cool, like car Firebird. And the card is fine. It's a fine card.
It's a fine card that I don't think I've ever seen played.
I have seen it played in what is
Limited,
it?
maybe?
Limited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Limited is a
That's
great
it. That's it.
bomb for land or location. So if you can
Nice
just roll the
art.
Firebird.
Enjoy the art.
Yeah. Yeah, so I feel like that's a D.
Solid
Like
D.
I feel
Yeah.
it's not a failure. It's not an abject failure.
Right.
But yeah, I don't think anybody is saying, my favorite card. I can't wait
I
till
forgot
Firebird gets
about it,
enchanted.
honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now we are on to the man. He's got a lot of cards. It is Captain Hook. He's been around since set one, promotional material, kind of. I mean, so
Sure.
he's a big deal. As a villain, he is beefing with children. I think it's important that we mention that. that is his villain activity, is just really hating them rascally boys, and he's afraid of a crocodile, and he's kind of mean to his workers. So I will say, as a villain, he's not nice,
Yeah.
but he's a good villain. He's memorable.
First off, I'm also afraid of crocodiles, and
Especially if it took my
feel
hand.
I feel like
Yeah.
the children are beefing with him. I kind of
That's-
sympathize
yeah.
for Captain Hook. He's just the old man
Off
saying,
doing
"Get
his-
off my boat,"
Yeah.
and
That's a good
they're over
point.
here flying around, messing with him, and but I do think he's got some serious sword skills. So,
And his cards are quite good. I mean, knowing that
Absolutely.
he's been around, I mean, I guess I say his cards are good. There's a lot of cards that, I don't think I've ever played of his or seen anyone play. But, Forceful Duelist has been around and is still playable years later. It's been years.
Still a very solid one drop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Are there any other cards that are good for him? I don't.
I
feel
do
bad
like.
being like,
I don't
he
think
has a 5 cost in Ruby that I think came out in Inklands that was decent. At least in a
Yeah.
pirate deck. I think you get.
I was gonna
you
say
get
they're all
something for
really good in a
challenging.
pirate deck.
He readies
right?
on a challenge, right? Or I don't remember exactly what he does, but I did enjoy that one. He has a Floodborn that can't be challenged by 3 costs, I believe. That kind of saw play in the pirate deck as well, but
yeah. So, and pirate
Yeah.
decks are on the rise. I'm
Yeah.
saying that speculating with the new set. So, like, I feel like that helps.
Ryan Miller's
So,
favorite archetype. I think he said that before.
it's true.
Yeah.
He's got a pirate
Yeah.
deck.
He's the OG pirate also.
Yeah, maybe he's
He
a
is.
B. I feel like he's a B.
I think I
B is fair.
I would agree with that.
yeah, B's fair, but
Yeah, because like he doesn't have any great cards. Unfortunately, there's some cards that we're gonna get to where they're certified bangers, as the kids say.
It's true.
Speaking of villains that are okay, this one is a villain that wants to kill and skin dogs. And I don't think she should win any points for that. So I think she's. We were talking about Cruella de Vil. Cruella de Vil, yeah, she just is like, I really want to kill and skin puppies, and I think that's pretty evil. So if we're talking about like evilness, that is like
That's
one of the more
S-tier.
evil.
yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Now her
As evil as
cards
they come.
have been fine. She's got some things that took out evasive. That was fun.
Yeah. It's,
Sudden Chill is her card, so I feel like she
Well,
gets.
I didn't
credit
think
for
about that. That's fair and very prominent right now.
Yeah, that is true.
I was
Yeah.
definitely gonna put her at like F tier.
Oh.
For the
Well,
card,
yeah,
I
I
didn't think
mean-
about Sudden Chill. That definitely balances it out quite a bit. That's
But if
really good card.
are we going franchise for all of the cards, or are we just going
It's
like
her.
true, just
There's-
straight villain card?
You are the rules of villainy, so therefore, technically,
Oh,
anything
we
you say
make
is
the
a rule.
rules, don't we?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to leave that
Well-
up to the mayor. Then he can make
Oh.
the rule.
Either way, I think
I-
she balances out. She
Yeah, I
like,
think she's a
murders
good
puppies,
balance
but
between her evil skinning of puppies and being just the Cruella that she is. Her early Sapphire card that took care of early evasives got a lot of play. Sudden Chill is getting way too much play right now. I'd say it probably balances out around the B range.
Oh.
Or you
B?
think
she's all
more
the way up
C?
in B?
I was thinking C for Cruella.
Yeah, because B
I'm-
just feels like that's really. I mean,
Okay.
and technically,
because
she
I don't
doesn't
even
sing-
think. Yeah,
Yeah.
she doesn't
But
have.
even with all
if
the
we're not
weight
counting
of her,
Sudden
how
Chill, I
evil
go
she
with
is.
C.
She does. I don't know. Yeah, is it like it's hard because sometimes you're so evil that you stop being interesting evil, right? Because like Ursula's evil, but she's not trying to kill puppies. She's making deals that
And
are
she's really
unsavory.
interesting.
But like Cruella's just like so. Like I'm sorry, points for just being a puppy murderer.
I could settle with C.
Okay, and this
I'm a
is all-
generous mayor.
That's true. Now, next is everyone's favorite villain, the villain that all the kids are dressing up as this Halloween. It's Dong Hu.
Who?
Everybody knows this character. I don't remember her in the movie.
Dang who?
Raya. That's a great point.
Yeah.
But she is a villain. I'm 90% sure she's from Raya because I've done some product of deduction, and I think it has to be Raya.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's from Raya. I think we had to Google it because we were wondering, like, how is she a villain? And
Now
when we
here's
Googled it, she was kind of like a neutral party more so,
yeah, but
according
no.
to
She's done some
Google, I
evil
guess,
things.
but I
She
don't
I
really
mean, okay,
know.
her flavor text is you can find villainy in the most unexpected places. So that's her thing.
Mm,
She's unexpectedly a villain. So,
Yeah.
I
that's
mean, that's kind of
true.
fun for her that she's just a villain due to some technicalities.
think-
But yeah, the fact that nobody knows who she is doesn't
I'd
really help her
probably put her
case.
in F
And the
tier.
fact that no one's played her card is not good either. So
Yeah.
she might, I don't want to fail her, but
I feel like
Okay,
the only
she's
thing she's
leaning
got going
toward
for
it.
her is that flavor text.
I don't have
Yeah.
any strong thoughts for anything higher than a D, but
yeah.
I've
Really,
never
I
played that
mean,
card.
yeah. Now we're about to, well, let's just stay in the Raya villain verse because there's 3 from this movie. So there's one that I had heard of, but the next one is Varan,
Okay.
who I
Mhm.
think is Namari's mom. I'm just
Yes.
assuming that. Okay.
Yes,
good.
I've only
That's
I
seen
have
it
a-
once, but I do specifically remember that part of it is that she is Namari's mom.
I
And I
have a
can kind of see
confession.
why she's villainous because it's more so about generational like upbringing and why they are feuding, and that all stems from her mother.
Yeah. Um, she has a cat, which I feel like might bump her to D. Like that's kind of cool that she kind of has a cat. I think I need, and
I
she's a
have a
powerful woman
confession.
sitting in a chair.
I've never
Yes?
seen Rhea, so I can't
I
really
think
comment
there
on
are
any
a
of
lot
these.
of people in that boat, honestly.
Yeah.
There's dozens of you.
Yeah.
So
She's
I don't know.
She's just like the evil, pulling like the evil strings. Most people know Namari as the one who sort of does her evil bidding. I think
I
she's
don't
pretty
want to.
uneventful.
I don't want to fail her, but I mean, I just think as a villain and as a card, she's not doing much.
Yeah.
She doesn't have Dunku's flavor text, which really carried her.
She
Elevated her.
carried her to the D.
Because
That
she
flavor
said, "Guess what? I'm a
text.
villain. That's my flavor."
Mm.
And then the last one is Namari, who is kind of not really a villain so much as I think she's more of a foil than a villain. Because honestly, she's just opposed to Raya, and it's not. It's just it's
Sure.
She just does what her mother
perspective.
says. So I'm supposed to not like you? Okay, I don't like you.
Yeah. So for me, her cards have always been pretty unfortunately mid. She's briefly been in the meta for like the one time she had the red card that would like come at you. But
Mhm.
then people were like, no, it's not that good. So she then left the meta. So she is a pretty, I would say, D tier card.
I would agree with that because she has multiple different cards too, and none
More
of
than
them are
you.
like, and an enchanted too, and that's just kind
Yeah.
of like meh.
Someone is gunning for her. So someone who's that works at Ravensburger is gonna see this. I'll be like, S tier, Namari. She is my favorite.
Yeah, I know someone's got that Raya pull over there because we have so many Raya cards and Sisu cards.
Now I feel like we have to do at least one banger bad guy because there's some good ones coming, but there's still a lot of stinkers. So we'll talk about Dr. Facilier. Great villain. I mean, it's hard to get better than him because he's just funny and spooky and pretty bad. He'll send you he'll steal your soul. That's like pretty bad.
And he's got
Song is
the
really catchy.
Friends on the Other Side is
Yeah.
one of the most prominent cards in all of Lorcana, so that automatically
Yes.
shoots him way up there.
Yeah. So he's got to be A. I don't know S. I feel like S can only be like 1 or 2. And but I mean, he's really. I mean, his other cards are pretty mediocre. Like he hasn't
Yeah.
really.
I feel like A tier would be good. I feel
Yeah.
like he's not like the best of the best, but he's darn close.
Now back to what I would call the stinker category. We have Don Carnage, who is from Tailspin,
Tailspin,
because
yep.
he's on a plane. That's a good hint. His card is actually pretty good for limited.
I agree.
I have ran Don Carnage every time he comes across my packs in any limited event. But I'm not sure what he's up to. His flavor text is, "You didn't expect to find me here, did you? Well, neither did I." So
Neither did
that
I.
makes him
I
seem
think
like
we'd all agree with that.
yeah. So I feel like he's probably D or C. The fact that he's evasive is pretty good, but he's not up there with Gorilla and Turnabout. He just can't be.
Yeah.
Keeping the stinker party going, we got Duke Wesselton, who I don't think is a bad guy.
I don't
just think he's a
either.
guy.
He's just a guy who's annoying.
He's a hero. He tried to point out the real bad guy in Frozen.
Oh, stop.
I mean, yeah. I mean, honestly, he came to court and he danced a little and then
Complained
yeah,
about it being
so
cold.
I don't think it's fair he's on this list. For
Oh.
him, I think it's character assassination.
Can we
His card's
just not
fine.
put him, or do we have to?
He might
We
take
have
us to
to,
court.
We
legally.
have to. We'll say.
So we're gonna put you as it's a good to be F. It's good
Okay.
in this case.
Because he's just not a villain.
He's not. He's just a guy. He's just a guy. Sorry. But we're in Frozen, so we're gonna talk about the real villain, Hans, who is a real bad guy. He's murdering. That's not nice. At first he was just a guy trying to get a date, but then he really went to murdering very fast. So the
Yeah.
fact that he went to murdering so fast makes me believe he is a pretty bad guy.
I don't even know if he was ever trying to get a date. I think it was his plan all along. So I think
Well, yeah,
that's what
like-
makes him a very big villain.
Well, he was going to do it through charm, and then he did it through murder.
It's
So it
true.
was first trying to. So I mean, he's a good villain, by being bad, and his cards have been good. It's chapter 1. He
Yeah.
was in every green and
Very
Steel
prominent
Deck.
in chapter
I think
1.
that's true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But hasn't really been since.
No.
I don't know
No.
when there was a new Gaston, or not Gaston. I was looking at Gaston, Hans in the last set that they gave a little extra lore when princesses were in play, right? That got a little bit of play.
Yeah,
Great and limited with that
Yeah.
Anna.
that was a good time. So yeah, he's B or C. What do you guys think?
I'd say C, kind of like
I'd say C.
Cruella.
Yeah,
That's
he's
fair.
there. He did his best. It's nothing against you, but you could do better.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that I'm gonna have to look up because I don't know anything about this Scottish duck. His name is Flintheart Glomgold. Nobody tells Flintheart Glomgold what to do, so that's fun. He quests for 2, which is always a good thing. But like, has anyone seen DuckTales on this show? Is anybody even watching it?
I think
pretty
maybe as
sure-
a kid, probably, but I don't remember.
Oh, this is new
enough?
DuckTales.
So I'm pretty sure
Oh,
he's
is it?
just Scrooge McDuck's slightly less rich neighbor. I think
Okay.
I think his whole like antagonist line or plot is just I want to be more rich and better than Scrooge McDuck. So it's kind of just like, always trying to what is it, the one up the Joneses or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's really
Okay.
just sort of the plot line of Flintheart.
And he's
Glomgold.
Scottish, which
Yeah.
seems to be nefarious in this setting.
Hmm.
So
Look
I
at
don't
their
know.
status, really.
I don't know. I feel like he goes down an F. Like I just don't feel. But I haven't seen the
Let's do
show,
it.
so somebody can.
I'll,
People can yell
I'll,
at me.
I'll agree with you.
Take
Yeah.
the hate comments. I'll take it. Fight me on Flintheart. Now Gaston, he's come up. He's got good cards. He's not. If you think about it, he's not such a bad guy in the sense that Belle does appear to be kidnapped by a monster in a cursed castle that nobody knew about. In his defense, most of the time he did make the right call. But in this case, he did not because the beast was kind of hot and she liked him. And so it's just in any other scenario, he wasn't that bad of a guy. But in this case, he is the villain and he does get carried away with things. And you can tell because his hair gets messed up. And
He kind of
commits-
is, though, right? Before the
Yeah.
whole kidnapping and everything, where like Belle
Very
clearly is not
toxic.
interested in him, and he's way
Yeah.
too pushy
Yes.
for
And he does.
comfort.
He commits her father to a mental institution.
Yeah.
She would marry him. The only way out of that is if you marry me. Yeah,
So that is pretty. Yeah, you're right. You got me.
Yeah.
So
He's redeemable, though. I think at least
yeah,
slightly
he's certainly not. He'd be canceled.
Red
Yeah.
flags
redeemable,
everywhere.
right?
Yeah. And he also has some pretty solid cards. I mean, Intellectual to Powerhouse had a time in the sun.
Yep.
Mhm.
He's always around. The one with Rush, no,
Yep.
Reckless.
Reckless.
Either way,
Yeah, reckless.
Yeah.
He had a
4-2
sing out
reckless.
card too, that I think was
Yeah, he's right.
in
He's a,
some
Steel
of the
Song.
Steel Song decks.
so yeah, I feel like he's a solid B.
I would say B. Yep.
Now we're back to stinkers. Not sorry, Gustav. We're talking about Gustav the Giant, who I will say in the recent DLC, this wonderful ruby
Yep.
steel deck used him as like the most genius way of like a Flynn buff.
Yep.
So that did make me go, okay, Gustav, but otherwise it's rough. It's a rough card. Not sure he is a villain in the sense that like I'm pretty sure Mickey like comes into his house and steals his bread. Like that's not nice. So like I don't think he's like really a true villain so much as a guy just trying to deal with a Mickey Mouse problem. So yeah, I'd say D or C.
Yeah, I would go with D.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say he's up there with Hans.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not an
Cool.
abject failure, but he is Gustav the Giant, which
Mhm.
he's just living. It's not his fault.
Yeah.
Now we're getting to this is a good one. I'm very excited because it's Hades. It's hard. Hades, the blue sapphire Hades is still seeing play to this day. He banishes people to Banquo. He's a great villain. He has an enchanted. I feel like I'm campaigning for Hades. He's fun. He's a fun villain.
He's
Yeah.
hilarious. He's probably the
S tier.
funniest villains. And I agree with S tier, honestly.
So funny. Such a great character in the movie, and he is a great villain. But if you think about it, that was just the role Zeus pushed him
Yeah.
onto, and he like embraced it and does such a great job of it. And
He rose to the occasion,
exactly.
Grow where you're planted is what Hades did. Hades. Oh no.
Oh, no.
Oh,
we're
no.
still there. Okay.
Okay. Oh man, for audio listeners, we almost lost everything. But we're okay. We survived. It's all good. So Hades living in the S tier. Now we're going into another movie. We're going into Atlantis. We got Helga Sinclair, who has some interesting cards. I don't think I've ever played them, but they're interesting and they're cool looking. And she's a fun villain, I think. So I'm fond of her. But that's all I really can say.
I'll admit, I've never seen that movie.
Oh my gosh.
I haven't seen it in
God.
years. I can't wait for us to get to us on our Disney date nights that we have every other week, because we were going through the animated canon and making themed dinners for it. And I don't know what I'm going to make for that yet, but I'm excited to revisit it because I haven't
I'll be
seen
there
it
to
in
help.
Seafood.
well over 20 years.
It's from Atlantis, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I also.
Well,
haven't
then I
really
get
watched
to
it.
do this. I get to rank it.
Yeah.
But I think she's a solid C. She's a fun villain because she's kind of a femme fatale. I think that's actually what her card is literally called. So that is apt. So
That card-
override, because you guys can't say I'm wrong. I've never seen
That
it.
card actually gave me trouble in the first set championship, the Stitch one. So somebody was running a Emerald Steel, and
Yep.
I had never been up against that card before, and was like, okay, I gotta figure out how to get past that in the next 2 games.
That'll do it.
Yeah.
That's in set champs when someone whips out a card, you're like, please, I can't learn. I'm trying to play.
I don't know what that does.
Now, her counterpart is Lyle Tiberius Rourke. It's a rough card to spell, to type, to say. His card is quite good. He only has 1, but it is doing work. He sucks because he's a little bit of a genocide man. He wants to hurt the people of Atlantis. He punches an old man. So I mean, he's a good villain, but like, yikes, he's like evil Indiana Jones.
He's a great card right now too. So that's
That
going to be a
card.
higher tier card, I think, on this list.
And his
So I want to say B because there's only 1 good card. Like, you don't have like a canon.
I think that would be a fair
Yeah.
ranking with
And he
only
punched
1
an old man,
card.
like,
his card is particularly evil too, because it wants your own characters to be banished too. He's fine letting his own
Good point.
crewmates go down for the sake of your opponent losing a lore.
which is canon. He's not nice.
Pretty
Which
rough.
makes him a good villain. So I guess. But now moving on to villains. We have Honest John, which is ironic because he's not honest. He's kind of unscrupulous. Mediocre card. It's and a mediocre villain because he's just messing with children.
I don't know. I think he is a little more villainous than people may give him credit for, because he is aware of what happens to said children, and he makes money off of that because he sells the donkeys.
He's trafficking children.
He
That's
traffics
great.
the children to turn into donkeys so he could sell them.
Pretty evil.
Yeah.
And his card is like ward away from being the next Bucky, right?
It is.
He's
I don't
one of
even
those-
remember what his card is, to be honest.
Whenever you play a Floodborn character, each opponent loses 1 lore. So he's kind of like, he might be good one day. Like, he has like the potential to be a card. It's just like,
Interesting.
But he's uninkable, and he only costs for 1, and he's a 2/3.
Yeah.
So there's a lot not going for Honest John.
Yeah.
And he traffics children. So I feel like that's a C or D.
I would go with a D.
Yeah.
Trafficking children is very villainous. Do not
yes,
recommend.
killing puppies,
but-
trafficking children. Unfortunately, you do get docked points for that. That's
Yeah.
too evil. Because now
Yeah.
we have Jafar, who I think is the right amount of evil, because he's like, I'm going to run this place. And that's like the right, I think, amount of evil, where you're just like, I'm willing to do whatever I can to run this principality. I'm not even sure. Agrabah might be a country. So he's a pretty good villain. Very memorable. Nobody can say Jafar is a bad villain. And he's got some really good cards.
It's true.
I agree.
Very true.
So feel like Jafar is close to an S tier because I mean
Do we throw
it
him up
is a
there with
bummer because like
Hades?
he's always so close to being like really good and then something happens and like it won't work in movies too, unfortunately.
Yeah.
His only downside is his own hubris, wanting to
Yeah.
be a genie and have unlimited power, and then
He's too greedy.
too greedy.
Itty living space. So do you think he's A or S tier?
I don't know.
Based on the game, I would say A or B.
Yeah,
I
would
think
say
A tier. I don't think he's up there with Hades.
No,
Hades
Hades
is
is
a
really
little too
killing it on
funny.
all fronts.
I'm gonna say A, but then I'm gonna get double whole new worlded with the Jafar
Yeah, I was gonna say
on board tomorrow,
Yeah.
probably at a game store. So, but
That's
That
easily-
means he's pretty good. He's a good villain.
Is that his best
So-
Lorcana card? The singing one?
might be.
I think
Yeah.
so.
He's had some
I think
really
the
nice
only
hits.
other option was the Bloodborne one
Snake.
from Steel.
Dreadnought.
Yeah, that's a
Dreadnought.
pretty good one too.
That's-
Mhm.
yeah.
It's a good one. So yeah, he's had some great. So yeah, you get to be an A, Jafar. Congratulations. Now we are moving to John Silver, the seafood. No, that's Long John Silver's. This is just John Silver. He has 2 cards as far as I know. And it's pretty good. It's fine. The first one was good for a while. This is a good commentary by me. But he's had the one where it's like location heavy, and then he had the other
Oh,
one.
there's 3
no,
of
there's
them.
3.
Yeah, there's
You're
a
right.
sapphire one. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. An 8 that costs for 3. That
Ooh.
that's a thing. So he's fine. He's doing fine. I've never seen the movie, so now I'm you guys. I've never seen that movie.
I haven't seen it since I was a kid.
Okay. Oh gosh, it's on you, Andy.
Oh, I
He's never
haven't seen
seen
the
it.
movie either.
All right.
So I can just speak to the cards. The cards are, I think, underrated, honestly.
Yeah, the
You're a
pirate one and that one especially. I had a lot
green
of fun
one.
with that one in set 1, and then when I was running the pirate deck in set 3, that the steel one that gets lore and resist for each location
Oh,
is so
ew.
beefy. That's a really good card.
He will
Set
ruin your
3
day.
limited.
It's one of those cards that when you play against it, you like don't read it or realize what's happening, and then they keep explaining it to you. You're like, oh, this card sucks. I don't like it. So all right.
3
we're-
limited days, getting a John Silver, and then having 20 locations from your packs. Oh,
Yep.
those are the days.
I know. Yeah. So you get to be in B. And I know there's enough John Silver fans out there where no one will fight me, probably. Now we are into one where technically it's a 2-for-1 because King Candy and Turbo are counted as 2 different villains. Now, if you've seen the movie, it's the same. Same. Even on the card, it says same. It's the same thing. But he's 2 different villains, unfortunately, in the ranking system. So, I don't know. It's rough. King Candy kind of annoys me because, like, King Candy himself is annoying. Turbo is kind of an interesting character. The fact that he's, like, evilly jumping from video games. So, I think Turbo is cooler than King Candy, but
I agree.
I would agree with
I
that.
completely
but it's a race to the bottom, unfortunately, with both of them. Because,
Yeah, I don't have any strong preference on either of them.
All right. So, King Candy, you get to be a D and Turbo gets to be a C purely based on the fact that it is cool. And that's fun.
I would agree with that.
But now we're back to awesome characters. Well, awesomely bad. This is Lady Tremaine. She really hates her stepdaughter, and that's her thing. That's it. She's just like, I hate you. And she's committed to it. That's her villain power. But my goodness, her card, it's almost better than Madame Medusa in some ways. Because
Gets fast forward.
It's complicated. Yeah, it gets past forward, and people go back and forth. I've seen it. I've seen the list. People titrate back and forth between how many Madame Medusas and how many Lady Tremaine, and that shows that she's got some staying power in the meta. The fact that people can't give her up. They can't give up the
It's
dream.
true.
Yeah.
She quests for 2.
How do you
Madame
feel,
Medusa
Andy?
can't do that.
I know you got strong feelings between the 2.
Vince and I have gone back and forth many times. I am personally a Madame Medusa fan. I think
Okay.
Lady Tremaine is not as good of a card.
Okay.
But certainly still a very, very respectable card. Probably
Well,
at least B tier, I would think.
okay. Well, then Madame Medusa, do you think they both belong in B? Because Madame Medusa, I don't know what her deal is. I think she's mad at some mice, possibly some children. I'm not sure who she's mad at.
This
I
is
would
some
think
time
I'm
for Mare
leaning
to
toward
shine. He
Tremaine's.
just watched this.
Sorry, Kirsten.
Oh, sorry, Kirsten,
sorry.
what was this one?
I was just saying that I think this is the time for Brad to shine because he just watched that movie where Madame Medusa came in.
Ooh. Yeah.
Is she a bad lady?
Oh, Madame Medusa is terrible.
Okay.
Are we on her now?
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I'm doing back to
Yeah, we
back.
just did the Rescuers last week or the week before, and I did not I knew how oppressive she was in the game, where she just comes out and takes out any 3 cost or less or 3 strength or less character.
Mhm.
In the movie, she is a kidnapper who takes these kids and throws them into, they go through the swamp and drop them off in this old abandoned area for them to find this special diamond that she's on the hunt for to become rich. And she's just evil. She's right. Crocodiles, like the whole movie. I'm just like, I hate this person even more now. Like Lorcana, she was bad enough. This movie, no, thank you.
Well,
She's an S tier for me.
what? S
Oh,
tier?
yeah.
That's really powerful for a person with 1 card, but all right.
Well, I think her
Council,
one
this is
card is
democracy.
that good. At least
When
A
you're-
tier. I think
With
It
the
is, I
rest
mean-
of the game, every card that comes out from now on
Yeah,
is measured
dies to
by
Medusa.
whether or not Medusa can take
That is
to
very
banish it.
true.
It's like she is the boss. It's hard
She
to
changed the meta.
yeah.
Yeah. Not many cards, yeah. But when a card comes out, they're like, what about this 1 card? And that is true. The fact that people will bring up this 1 card to say whether that card is good or not.
Yeah,
Just
because I
one
look
movie,
at stuff and I'm
one
like, is it
card.
Medusa-able?
Yep.
Yeah. Now, the next one is another Madam, but it is Madam Mim, no E at the end. Now, she has some stinger cards, like her Gruesome Grim, not good, but she has Fox, which is amazing. What's that?
Fox.
And Snake.
And the snake.
Fox,
yeah.
snake, and elephant.
The elephant's not terrible either. Even the big one, even the big dragon isn't that terrible. I just saw that played recently in a purple deck, actually.
I've thought about it.
She's kind of a mediocre villain in the sense that all she really does is live in a cabin and not like when kids fall through the roof.
Well, wouldn't you? Like,
It's true.
I don't want.
There's a lot of that going on
Yeah.
here where the villain is like, and then someone came into their house and they said, "Get out, villain." And I'm like,
Her
Okay.
whole part in that
So,
movie is
I
she's just
think-
like mad at like Merlin, just like
yeah,
old
she has
people
this beef
mad
with
at
him
him.
specifically.
She was
Mhm.
minding her own business, and suddenly she's got to deal with Merlin and some kid just, like as Katie said, falling into her house, and then
Yeah.
there's a big battle between Merlin and Mim with all the shape shifting, which is entertaining, a lot of fun. It's brought a lot of cool cards to the game. I think the whole bounce package changed everything in set 2. So
Did.
I think she's very much in the upper echelon of the tier list. I don't know. I think A is probably good.
Yeah, I think that Fox card
Yeah.
is just so good.
Yeah.
She's just got a lot of cards that are still playable if you wanted them to be.
Now we're back at a low point. It's not low. I'm sorry. This is just like my bias is showing. But we are talking about Majorca. I've seen this show. She's an evil duck. Is it Majorca?
Magica.
Magica.
I think it's Magica
Magica.
Dispella.
Magica Dispel. It's so funny because my favorite part about her is they've released several cards of her, and like they're all amethyst, and they all kind of look the same, so that your memory can't tell them apart, which I think is fun. That they're like, no, it's all purple, and will not change the art very much, and they're not going to be played. So that's unfortunately for her not in her favor. She might be a good villain. I don't know.
This particular
yeah.
card is starting to see a little bit of play to just strictly to counter all the discard that's happening right now. I know Andy's testing it right now, so I think the tech on this specific card, the newest Magica, makes her, mid-range, maybe C or D. But
Yeah, that's Magica Dispel Cruel Sorceress during your opponent's turn. If an effect would cause you to discard 1 or more of your cards from your hand, you don't. So she says, not gonna,
Get
not
out of
gonna
here,
happen.
Prince John. Yeah.
So,
It's her only redeeming factor, I think, really.
if Turbo can be C, she can be C. Why
I
not?
agree with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, if we put Turbo in C for a personality higher, she can. Now we're back to a great villain. We're talking about Maleficent, who is kind of like a fun villain because I don't know, she just has beef that she wasn't invited to a party, which is like my favorite kind of villain, where she's like, that I won't forgive. And we have Monstrous Dragon. We have the one that draws a card for a 3-drop. We have the cool legendary one that was kind of
Moves
cool, but nobody
damage,
really
yeah.
plays.
I think
Um,
my bias is going to show, and she's definitely in an S tier, both on
really
her
has not- I
cards
mean-
and villain.
how do you feel about that dragon, Kirsten?
It should have been an enchanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, even the one drop. I mean, the one drop today is a hyper aggro
Oh,
princess.
yeah.
Yep.
Like,
So
so many
she's
of
on
her
all sides.
cards are really good. And
Yeah.
she's just so powerful as a villain, just in
Classic,
general.
too.
Yeah.
And the rule, she has a rule of villainy text. When all else fails, turn into a dragon.
Yep.
I think
That's great.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Red, regular or purple, which
I
we
am-
forgot to talk about. Madam M turns into a purple dragon, which was
I am
fun.
a little disappointed, Andy, since you pointed that out, that we put Tremaine in the B tier when she has a rule of villainy as well.
I mean, we can't give that much preferential treatment.
Yeah, right.
Turning
She does. Her only villainous quality is like, you can't go to the party. And I'm like, okay, you're picking a weird battle here. Now, Mother Gothel is pretty evil. She does put a child in a tower and lie to her and steal her from her parents. And she's fun. She's fun. She's got a song. I love a villain with a song. And her cards are fun. They're fun cards. So she's doing well. What are your guys' thoughts on Mother Gothel? And
I
her
think she's a
cards?
pretty solid A tier, both
Yeah.
like in her cards and as a villain. I mean, can't get more villainous than stealing a baby and raising it to be your
And
own,
using its
just
baby
for
powers.
the
Yeah.
hair. You know, the hair. So, but
Which-
a lot of our cards are very playable nowadays.
It is a little ironic that we're supposed to be like, oh, Mother Gothel's so selfish for stealing Rapunzel. Her mom literally harvested the only flower and ate it. So, I mean, it's just how you go about it. And her mom did it nicely. Her mom didn't do it. She's on the brink of death. Mother Gothel did it willingly, but Mother Gothel left it there. She would just go to that flower. So, I mean, if you think about it, Mother
She was
Gothel was
keeping
not
it for herself though too.
I know. So she at least maybe would have shared. I don't know. Either way, one person cut down the flower forever. The other one left it there with like a basket over it. So either way, she's definitely A. I'm just saying that like
I agree.
lots of people were coveting that flower. Some people ate it.
It's true.
Now we have my least favorite card in the entire. No, there's two. We'll do it back to back because every time I see him, I go, ugh, and it's nothing against the artist. In fact, you did a good job for making. If art makes you feel something, that's good. We're talking about Nessus from Hercules, whose only villainous is like, I think he's trying to get on a date with Meg, and he's gross, and that's his villainous is being gross. And also a horseman, a minotaur, as you might call it.
Yeah.
Centaur, right?
Do you guys have anything near?
His card's not bad in limited. I should
Limited,
say.
yeah.
His card's not bad.
Oh, I
He gets
hate
points
looking
to
at it.
Phil and like Hercules
That's true.
and Meg and stuff. Like
That's true.
they're cool characters, but yeah, kind of D F tier.
I would say
Yeah.
it's an F or a D. Yeah.
He can be a D because of the fact that he is semi-playable in Quest for 2.
Yeah, in limited format.
Mm-hmm.
But he's so ugly, and I don't like that.
Yeah.
And now we're talking about my second least favorite ugly card, and that is Scroop.
Yeah.
Ugh. Every time I pull Scroop, I'm like, ugh, that's a bug
I
man.
have so many of them.
I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot of them.
I do have a crimped Scroop, so for any crimped collectors out there, really,
Oh,
for any crimped Scroop mega fans, hit me up. His cards are pretty mediocre. I don't know what his deal is. So
I
yeah.
don't even
and
know what
he's
he's
a bug
from.
man.
I think in limited he's great. He's a 3/1 evasive with Quest for 2, maybe 1.
Yeah.
But I have no preference. I think he's D or F. Like otherwise,
F
I don't know
tier.
what he's. Yeah,
I'd be fine
Squash
putting
the
him in
bug.
F. Does he only have one card
Yes.
anyway, too?
He's got
2.
two.
He's got
They
one.
both
in
look
Ruby.
very, very similar.
Yeah.
Just creepy bug.
Yeah, boo, Scroop. I feel like Nessus kind of squeaked by and D due to a moment of generosity. He probably should be. Wait, no, you stay up there in D and you stay there in F. No going back.
Yeah.
So now we're out of characters that I can't look at because they make me upset, and we're into characters that just make me upset for different reasons. And we're talking about Pete, who is certainly not bad all the time. Like he's Goofy's neighbor and he's annoying. He's like the anti-Ned Flanders. But he's not. He's kind of a villain to Mickey. But he is a meta changer, so you got to give him points for he changed the meta a bit. So,
Absolutely.
what are your guys' thought on Pete, the dog? No, he's a cat.
He's a cat. If it was this card only, then very upper tier for sure. But before this card, there's like
Oh, yeah.
12 other Petes that
Yeah.
aren't good at all.
All
Or at
bad.
least I've never tried playing. I've never seen played. So I feel like that knocks it down a little bit.
The
I feel
Pete.
like a
Get an
solid
enchanted.
C.
Yeah,
He's
the
the
Pete
prettiest
He
girl
does have it
enchanted.
enchanted.
He was like that, but that was the first enchanted to like go below value, like of like a foil, like the sad beast foil was worth more than
Yeah.
the Pete enchanted. It was like, oh, nobody likes Pete.
Oh, no.
I'm so sorry.
It is, yeah, it is funny that he was the start of enchanteds that people were like, oh, I got the wall. Oh, I got
I got
so
but can
so yeah, I feel like he's a B or probably a B, knowing that his
I
referee
would settle with B. Yeah.
the referee's just holding all the Pete
it
on
is.
his
He's
back.
doing his
That's-
job at the Foot
yeah.
Locker really turned him around. So we're on the home stretch. We have Prince John, discard Prince. He's fine. He's kind of annoying villain, but he's got some cards that people care about.
Right now,
You
he
know?
is top tier. He is really
Yeah.
hard to deal with. Like Pete, he has some other ones that aren't so great, but
Yeah, he's
I think his
kind of a
other ones are a lot
glorified
better
object.
than the other
Yeah.
Petes, though. So I would say this is probably an A tier. What about
Yeah, I
you,
would
Andy?
agree with B. I would
Yeah.
agree with B.
He's not the best
Get in there.
villain. He's just really, an authority figure collecting taxes, right? Like I don't look at my
That's
local
pretty evil.
comptroller as a villain or whatever, but like
Yeah.
his
You're like-
card is really villainous for sure.
So speaking of villains, we do have the Queen of Hearts, who's kind of, she's mean to her husband. She believes in very extreme capital punishment. She has a couple good cards. The one where you draw a card every time your opponent or one of your other
Challenges.
characters
Yep.
challenges.
Yep.
That's quite nice. It's a quite nice thing.
Her
But
rush
otherwise,
card.
she's
Rush
Her,
one,
ru-
it's not bad.
her
yeah.
rush
Yeah.
card was very good for a while and usually played for low
Till Daisy
low
Duck
to the
came out.
ground characters in red blue. She has a rule of villainy, so that gives her extra points for
that's
me.
good. You're B.
Yeah.
I'm doing it. She's
Sounds
She
good.
B.
really wants to decapitate people. I don't
Yeah.
know
That is
why.
weird. Like, come
Super
on. And she
ruthless,
uses
though.
live hedgehogs. That's not
Mhm.
nice. But they seem fine. They seem unhurt by it, so
Yeah.
that's okay. Now we have Radigan, who scared the living daylights out of me as a child. This mouse, I was like, ugh! Like him and Felicia, I was just, no, thank you. So scary. His cards are fine, but he's just such a scary villain.
Yeah.
So what are yours? Is B?
As far as cards go, I mean he's scary, but I don't know
Yeah,
that
I would
he
say
has
B.
anything playable.
I think he's an A tier villain for the exact reason
Right.
you said, because he's so scary and
Yeah.
so cool, really. But his cards are kind of bad, so
Yeah. But yeah. Ugh. Now we are back to villains that are like, uh-oh, it's Scar. You know him,
S
you
tier.
love him. He's a vicious
tier.
cheater. Yeah.
Brad loves Scar. That's his
There's
favorite
an
villain.
enchanted scar above your head. As
There
we
is,
speak.
yes.
So yeah, Scar. Yeah.
He
and
murdered
you're
his
not
brother.
good. You killed you committed brothercide. I don't know.
Yeah.
And he has at least
Right in front of his kid too.
I'm
Here's
really
a
curious
one,
about the new
Ruthless.
live action Lion King or Mufasa movie because
Oh, I'm excited.
they're going into the Scar lore, how he was supposed to be king, and so I guess they're trying to justify why he's so hateful for
Probably because his
Mufasa.
parents named him Scar.
It's not his actual real name.
what is his real name? No one knows, right?
You'll find out in the
Well,
movie.
We're gonna find
It's like
out
Steve or
in the new
something.
movie.
It is Steve.
Steve.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, is Steve?
No, it's not.
He's
No, I'm
just
sorry.
joking.
I'm sorry. I
Oh.
said that so seriously.
Yeah, it is Steve. I was like, okay.
No,
Steve
it's
is in the S tier.
I should know
Steve,
it.
S stands for Steve. Now, speaking of S characters, we have Shere Khan, who has
Taka.
a pretty good card. I don't know. He's just a lot. He's just a tiger. He's not really that bad. He's just doing tiger stuff. He wants to eat a kid. All tigers want to eat kids. Like, why are we gonna get mad at him for that? But
Just being himself.
Yeah.
yeah.
He
So I
finds-
feel like
He finds some play.
He's very
You know,
smooth,
C tier.
Yeah.
I think.
very very cunning. And his card I think is underrated, but yeah, C
a
tier
little,
seems
little bit
about
of
right.
lore, sneaky
uh,
lore.
does he deserve to creep up into B because his card is underrated?
No,
we
I think
living
C's
here?
fine.
I think C's
Okay.
good.
All right, we got our last 6 here. We have Sheriff of Nottingham, another person collecting taxes people do not like. But he did have a combo briefly that people were quite hyped
And
about.
it was fun.
Yeah, it was a fun time. Other than that, though, he's a pretty unremarkable little guy, but his cards have been fine. So his cards have carried him, I think.
I would say D, but he does have a rule of villainy, so I would bump him to C.
Yeah.
But
Just
that's
doing
me.
his
job.
That's me. It's
I
up to
think
you
that's
guys.
fair.
Yeah, he's fine. He's doing just fine. Now the next one is a meta card that has been around since set 1 and is only getting better with age. As more items come out, he gets more shiny. That is Tamatoa. Tamatoa. People say him different ways. Either way.
We call him Big Tammy.
Yeah,
Big Tammy. Big T. I have a friend that calls him Timmy Turner. Don't know why, but either way, he's doing really good for himself. And he's not really so much a villain as a guy that lives in a place and
He's just
eats
a
his grandma.
hoarder.
And he ate his grandma, which is objectively not nice. But,
Yeah. Yeah, he just likes collecting shiny stuff, and I like collecting stuff too. So
I know, right? Me and
I
Tamatoa,
can't complain about collecting stuff.
So I feel like he can't be S tier because there's only one. But if Madame Medusa can be S tier, then I feel like Tamatoa can't. But would Tamatoa be anything without the lucky dime? I don't know.
Ooh,
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
true.
There's
I feel
other
like that
Is
knocks
he
it
Tamatoa
down a
only
bit.
cards,
A
too.
tier
We're forgetting
because he
about them
relies
because
so much on the dime?
All right.
I-
Hey,
I think
I had him S for shiny, but
that is quite nice. That is true. But we got a couple that I think are going to end up in S tier. So our S tier is going to fill up in a few minutes, but not with these two. The first one is Teika, who is just an angry entity of nature.
Yeah.
She's
It's not her fault.
No, she's just
She's
upset.
not a villain.
And she's not such a good card either. She's good
Yeah.
and limited sometimes. If I pull the one that we pictured here, the one Heartless, I think.
Yeah.
From
Maybe
set
the
one.
Steel one. It's playable and limited. Otherwise, not so good. I feel bad. It's not her fault.
I feel like
but
she
yeah,
should be an F with like Duke of Wesselton. Like
Yeah.
he's not. She's not really a villain.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, F it for the sunset. It's not her fault. Her cards are fine, but
Yeah.
she's not really a villain so much as somebody saying, like, you literally stole my essence of being. And
Yeah,
that's
I would be
nice.
mad too.
Now, the last stinker we have is
Me.
Klong. It's the
Thaddeus.
snake from Jungle Book. Thaddeus Clang. Thank you. I put some respect on it. I think he is technically the constrictor from Jungle Book, but with like some gear, some robotic hands, perchance. I'm not sure really
Interesting.
what's going
I
on
have
with
no
him.
idea. I know that
I
it's
couldn't
Tim
even
Curry that
remember.
voices him.
What? Okay,
Yeah.
S tier.
Yeah, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, his card's fine. So I feel like at least he gets that out of F and into D because of the fact that his card is kind of good.
And he's
deals
voiced
two,
by
and,
Tim Curry.
I think
And yeah,
that's
the Tim
fair.
Curry of it all gets him out of F and into
Mhm.
D. His one card, but the Tim Curry.
Tim Curry
Um,
tier for sure.
Now we got the last three, which are some really good ones.
Yep.
We got the Queen, which the Queen is so powerful that she has like the Queen tribal now, where there's cards where it's like you reference the Queen and then you get more queens, and you got a turn 2 shift package. I mean, decks were built around this
Yeah,
Queen.
the
She's
quickest-
so powerful. Her name is just the Queen.
The quickest wheel you can get with Steel Song is shift 2 queens and singing it.
That's the quickest
I've-
wheel anywhere. And
I think she has quite a few playable cards too. She's got the one in Sapphire for the
Item.
Ruby Sapphire decks. She's got the yellow card even a long time ago. Whenever the green Queen was out, everybody was so hyped about that one.
Oh.
Just discard for lore.
Yeah.
I think she
Yeah.
deserves an A.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's
I don't
stuck
think
around.
she's S because like she hasn't like ever been like, whoa, but like she's really she carries her own weight.
Mm-hmm.
She is another villain that has beef with a child for reasons where she's like, I hate that teenage girl. And I'm like, okay.
You're prettier than me.
Yeah, go
How
off,
dare
I guess.
you?
Go kill that child, I suppose. But the next one also has beef with children, but not just this child. She is a businesswoman. She is iconic in every way. It is Ursula. Her set 1 amethyst card, amazing. Her sing twice emerald card, also amazing. And then her
Chudra.
Sea Witch Queen, also amazing. She's
Yeah.
got like hit after hit.
I
Yeah.
think she deserves an S.
She's an
Yeah.
S
And then we
tier.
have-
She's a good villain. She's funny.
And
Great
she has a favorite card,
songs.
Ursula Vanessa. That's just
Yeah.
the funniest card name ever because it's just
Yes.
so silly.
And she's
What
got
are
a
you? I'm
rule of
Ursula
villainy.
Vanessa? Oh, she got a rule of villainy. So yeah.
I was
All
going
right.
to be evil, do it with style or something.
Yep. We didn't even
Yeah.
mention Scars. But yeah, he was
Yeah.
S tier no matter
He
what.
was just instantly.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
just like, no, we don't need to talk about it. It's actually not important. We know. And then the last, it is, where you love her. Her is Yzma. Yzma. She doesn't have enough cards because there's no cat version of her yet, and until there's a cat version, I will not rest. But she is pretty great. She had the one set one where you could scry or look at your top card, and that was fun for a while. The one where you get to pick which card you turn into more cards. She's the shuffle the card into your banish a card, and you get to draw 2 cards per
That's this one.
chance.
Yeah.
That's
You
when
put it back in
shuffle
your deck and draw 2.
That's nice. I
Yeah.
mean,
Good card.
and she is a top tier villain.
She is a hilarious villain too.
Yeah, so it's interesting because she only has 4 cards, and one is like quite literally she's just sleeping, but it's a funny card because she's got little cucumbers on her eyes and she's wearing a little nightie. Um, it's hard. It's hard. I don't think she gets to be an S tier because of the way the S tier is, but I do think she's a hard A.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I'd agree with that.
Her cards would need to be a little better for her to be an S tier, I think.
So there we go. We did it. We rated 38 villains. And, I think if, it could go a little differently. It's subjective. There's no science. So I encourage anyone that watch this, if they have any strong passion, to be like, you can do it. But now it's the last round where we say, we talked about 38 villains. Is there any that you're like, I cannot wait to see you on this list? I'll start with you, Kirsten, because you're a Disney fan.
So I think that he's a true villain of villains, Frollo from The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Extremely creepy villain. That entire song is very inappropriate.
It's just oh my God, that movie. I can't wait to talk about the movie more because how crazy is it? Like, you know what the children love? Victor Hugo.
I know.
They love church dramas. And so that movie, Frollo, get in here.
They went for it for that movie. But yeah, I think that franchise and having him as a villain card would be pretty interesting.
All right, moving on to you, Andy. What is a villain that you're ready to see in Disney Lorcana?
Well, I was ready from day one for Pixar, and now that they've announced the Pixar inclusion, I really want to see the toys, Sid's toys from Toy Story. I'll settle for any of them, but like the baby doll's head on the Erector set, like spider, spider body.
Hey, that's not a bad toy. That toy's sad. Remember, the toy comes out and he's like, oh.
Okay, so
be a little
they are
maybe it's an ally.
Villains.
Sid will
true.
be the villain.
Sid
is a villain.
Or any of his
there
toys. I'm excited to see them in the game for sure.
Sid is objectively very scary. All right. Oh God, yeah. Anyway, Brad.
I'm in the same universe, but different movie. I really want to see Lotso. I've always been a big fan of Lotso from Toy Story 3, Lotso Hug and Bear, and I think that would be a fun card. Or I was going to say Sid. I didn't want to mow Andy's lawn there when he picked Sid's toys, but Lotso was my number one.
Do you think the Lotso card will be scratch and sniff?
I was just going to say,
strawberries.
They could make an enchanted Lotso that's scented.
And then everybody's going to be sniffing in Target.
And like fuzzy. Wouldn't that be wild?
People be like, I gotta sniff the packs, man. Which one has Lotso in it?
I used to have a giant Lotso
bear
that actually did smell like strawberries.
They have the Lotso bag, the Lotso Funko Pop. We go to the mall and we go into the store and there's a Lotso item and socks. And I'm like, are they scented like strawberries? Shopkeeper's like, yes, please smell them.
But when it's not, then you just realize you picked up an object and smelled it. You're like, okay, I'm a Disney adult. That's what they're talking about. Is people who smell things because it might be scented.
Yep.
And I'm just going to say Oogie Boogie. I know he's not going to be because he's not Pixar. He's not Disney. He's just living in this liminal space. But man, if I could have an Oogie Boogie.
Ooh, glow in the dark card and glow in the dark enchanted Oogie Boogie.
I mean, I think there's a chance. Anything can happen. If we got DuckTales and we're got Pixar, anything can happen. But man, if I could get Oogie Boogie, I'd be. And you're gambling. We have no gambling cards yet where it's like roll the dice. If odd, this happens. If even, this happens. It could be like you draw a card or discard a card or something. How fun.
That would be neat.
That'd be really neat.
So
I love it.
We did it.
We
So
did.
I mean, that was a lot of villains. So I appreciate you for joining me on this very spooky, very devious episode. It was very fun to hang out with you. Very sad that we lost Vince, but that's okay. We'll get him back next time. But yeah, it was very fun. So it was nice to talk about who's the best / worst villain, and that's a very complicated discussion. So before we say goodbye, where can people find and follow your villainous acts?
You can find us on all the socials. I don't think there's any that we're missing. We're not on TikTok yet, but at just Rules of Villainy. We were fortunate enough to find that and lock that in on every single one of them. YouTube, I'm blanking. Twitter, Facebook, all Rules of Villainy. Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check them out because like they're not evil. That's the thing. It's a twist. It's an M.
Do
Night
people
Shyamalan
think we are?
situation.
Do people think we're
No,
evil?
but I mean, it's like the rules of villainy. So I was like,
Yeah.
well, they're gonna tell me how to do tax evasion or something.
Hey, any press
None of
is good
that.
press, right? So if they
Yeah,
think we're
it's
villainous, that's fine. Come check us
yeah,
out.
right. The people are talking. It's provocative.
Yep.
Well, thank you again, and thank you, the listeners, for joining me for another episode. As you know, there's always room for more at the end. So if there's anything you want to hear me talk about, please feel free to email me at contact@thelorekeepersin.com or contact me via Twitter, Instagram, and the socials linked in the description. As always, thank you for hanging out with me. We are always happy to have you stop by the Lore Keepers Inn, no matter where your journey may take you. And remember, if you don't know where to find us, just take the second star to the right exit and head straight on till morning. And also, happy Halloween!